Hey, this is Rob Ryder. Today is Sunday, July 5th, 2020. And we're going to be talking about traffic tickets in court, errors and omissions. Because there's errors and omissions on all traffic tickets, all court cases, so forth. So if that's the case, then who do you tell? And what do you tell them? And a hint would be, well, 4 USC 101, United States Code 101, which is the law that says anybody who's going to claim authority in the United States and the state has to have taken this particular oath. I, Robert Allen Rutluski, do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States. Well, nobody's taken that, and I've done quite a few videos on that. So, well, what do we do with it? What's a practical use? Well, that's what we're going to try to figure out. Can we use this for something? And then what else do you give them? Well, what you can prove, which is it's on the paperwork that they give you. That you just look at it and say, well, that's wrong, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and so forth. And so I was trying this, or I'm trying this with a lady out in California. And we're going to look at her case and what it has done so far, and a traffic case. And then naturalized persons. As it turned out, she was naturalized, and she had sent me her certificate. And I had known from previous videos that, these things have errors on them. I need to talk about it again. I need to show this research that I've done in the past, but it's time to bring it forward. And so that naturalized persons, right, if you have a certificate of naturalization, in other words, you're lost beyond the sea. And with me, you and us are denied the status of citizen of the United States. Now, mine happened differently. I'm not naturalized. I was born here. But in the very first Naturalization Act, which is in 1790, it says that the right of citizenship shall not descend to persons whose fathers have never been resident in the United States. Naturalization Act 1790. Well, if you go look at a certificate of live birth, there's no place on there where it has your father's residence. It has your mother's well, they've got a particular name for it. Well, we'll be looking at it. A normal residence or something like that, right? And it has a place for it. But they don't have any place for your fathers. And so these are all errors and omissions on all this paperwork. And, we can't just sit by and let it go unchallenged. You have to challenge it. And that's what this is about. Well, who would you challenge these things to? And what would you use as your evidence or proof? Because they're not going to come tell us. We need to go, we need to go claim our rights. So if you want to email me, Rob Ryder's email is courtofrecord@aol.com. My phone number is 616-712-6179. And I do need your help to keep the lights on. Pay the rent, buy groceries, those kind of things. Believe it or not, I put all my time into doing these videos and the research that goes into them. And I have lots of information. In fact, I have the authority and the information. What I don't have is the power. I need the guys with the stars to buy in, and well, that's the power, and they'll take care of it all. And if you didn't, a week ago I did a video that I was saying that President Trump, his oath of office is wrong, and I was showing it in the credits and everything, or in the video. Well, a couple days later, he posted in Twitter, right, the Lone Warrior, and that's all he put. And well, that's what he would be if he took the proper oath. He would be the commander-in-chief. And if the other people in the military haven't taken the oath that's in 1 Stat 23 or 4 USC 101, as I've shown in my prior videos, then they're not in the United States yet. Right? They can be. They're just not because they haven't taken this oath, and it's been done on purpose, and no harm, no foul. Everybody go take the proper oaths, and let's move on. But until we do, we haven't satisfied the jots and tittles of the law. And so we got to get the plank out of our own eye first and move forward. So now that we're doing that, now we can go point out to the Pharisees, that they got a few errors of their own they need to take care of. And the fact that Trump said that was, well, I think it's phenomenal. I hope he did it. I hope he went and took the oath that's in 1 Stat 23 and that he redid the oath that John Roberts gave to him incorrectly. Right? It's Roberts' fault. It's not Trump's. So, but anyways, hey, I do need your help. If you could write down that address, send me a check or a donation, or if you called me, well, no, you can't do that. You'd have to email me. If you emailed me and told me to send you an invoice for the amount that you would like to donate, I can send you an invoice through PayPal that you can use your credit card on. See how convenient they make that? Okay. So there's lots going on all over the world, and we're living in the end times for sure. And I just watched this video this morning. It was called President Trump Will Lead America Back to God, according to a 1983 prophecy. Somebody had linked it on Twitter. I think it was on WWG1, WGA, where we go one, we go all. And President Trump will lead America back to God, according to a 1983 prophecy, and it's quite interesting. So you should go watch it after this one, if you haven't seen it yet. But let me finish first. All right, so give me just a second. I'll be right back, and we'll get started. Okay, so, this isn't complicated. This is a traffic ticket from the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. Right? Pay attention to that. It says it's a notice to appear, and it's got this number, which ends up being the citation number. You got the name, address, where people live, some particulars, Then you get to this code and section, and, well, it's some number with a VC, speed, and a, whatever the I is. What is it? Infraction. Right? It's not a misdemeanor. It's an infraction. It means it's a very low level violation. Okay, what she did, which was basically speeding, arrest. There's a reason I have it like this, so I can do this. Arresting or citing deputy, right? Looks like an initial and maybe FROST, Frost. Some badge number, apparently. It's got her address, or her signature, excuse me. And that says Superior Court of San Diego County. Remember that. That'll be important. And then we have a date, but no time, no AM, PM. Doesn't say what you're going there for, right? It's been left blank. And, so, now, I can tell you, most people, when they get a ticket, they don't see these things because, they're a little bit too close to it. Or they don't know enough to look at it. And so that's all I'm saying. All right, now take a deep breath, right? Because this isn't difficult. Go get your ticket. Start going through it line by line and see what's correct and what isn't. And make a note of it. See, like here, they didn't put her age. Well, they have a blank for it. Well, then this hasn't been filled out properly. You can't leave blanks on papers, on forms that have blanks. It's not official. So that's that's what I say. Apparently, they don't see it that way because they don't do it. But I'm going to make that the issue. You're not following the fucking law. And by the way, you didn't have to take this oath of office. It's in 4 U.S.C. 101, 4 United States Code 101. Then you don't have any authority. So let me look at that real quick so we get rid of that. I'm only saying this again for people who have not watched any of my videos. I've been beating this to death for the last, going on a year. Right? That every member of the state legislature and every executive or judicial officer of a state shall, before he proceeds to execute the duties of his office, take the oath in the following form. To wit, I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. That oath has to be done that way on its own piece of paper, or they did not satisfy 4 U.S.C. 101. That's what a Staff Sergeant of the United States Army says. You didn't follow the procedure, go do it again. I don't care if you have another oath, or that your state constitution requires an oath, and here it is, and it looks like they did it. They still have to do this one. Right? And you just don't accept anything except that is the answer. Because you are correct, because that's what this just said, right? It didn't tell you to add it to the oath of the state constitution. It said, no, do this here before you do anything else, before you execute any duties of your office. Well, your governor hasn't done this, and neither has your attorney general or your secretary of state or your state treasurer or the frickin' state legislature or, the judges. None of them have. Nobody has done this. They don't have any authority in the United States because they haven't executed this oath just the way it says. And, you can start complaining immediately to everybody you can that's above them. And that's the idea. Well, let's figure out who we can complain to and say, look, they haven't done this. I'm going to make this the issue instead of arguing about what you said I did. I'm just going to say, well, you don't have any authority to do anything about it anyways. If you don't have the oath, you don't have any authority, sir. Right? Now I need to get somebody to enforce that for me. That's what I'm looking for. I have the law on my side. I need enforcement. Right? I have the authority. I have the information. What I need is the power. So anyways, that's what's on this ticket, right? And let's compare that to the notice that came later. Now, this is all happening during the coronavirus, right? So nobody's going to court. Everything's being done by mail. That can be. But as you'll see, this was the ticket given to her by the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. And this is the invitation she's getting to this from the Superior Court of California, County of San Diego. Well, on the ticket, you'll just have to take my, take my word on it for a minute. It says Superior Court of San Diego County. It doesn't say Superior Court of California, County of San Diego. Right? So right away, well, this is from the wrong court. Number one, what's wrong? Well, it's from the wrong court. And we go down farther, and it says, well, her violation is VC 22350. Well, I can tell you right away that that's not a proper legal citation. Why? Well, I just know because I've looked at it enough, they never do it right. So that's not proper. Now go prove it, right? Get the proof. But I'm telling you, it's not proper. Go find the proof of how they need to do it in your state and say they didn't use a proper legal citation. Which in California, I think they put VIC, vehicle, maybe it's VEC, Vehicle Enforcement Code or something like that. This is a notice and so forth. And so, okay, so she gets a ticket from somebody and gets an invitation from somebody else, but she didn't get an invitation from the place that gave her the ticket, which said go to the Superior Court of San Diego County, go to the Central Division at this address. But when you go to that address, this is the court that you find. So where's the court they're talking about? Right? Well, I'm thinking it's in the office of sheriff, which is probably in the courthouse. Because the sheriff runs his own gig, right? He's his own constitutional officer, and the sheriff has a court. And I've done a bit of research again on this because of the other things I'm doing and trying to notify the police and the sheriff that, look, all these imposters that are pretending to be public servants don't have this oath, so stop them from doing what they're doing. All right? That was if you just search my videos by upload date and start going backwards from this one, you'll get an idea real quick what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's it's a messed up situation. So the ticket and the invitation don't match, but she didn't go to the place she was told to go. She's not going to be there by that date and didn't show up. So, this court's going to say, well, you didn't show up. Even if she went to this court, she wouldn't be appearing at this court. And this is the court she's been told to appear at. You see how deceitful that is? Right? I mean, it's just as obvious as can be. Well, then who, right? So now who can you tell? And so anybody who's got any kind of court case to do a traffic ticket, you're going to have very, very similar problems. Right? So it's easy enough to find out. There'll be a legal citation for every state. If you just say the name of your state, like Michigan, legal citation, and Google it and read a little bit, you'll find out, well, hey, this is the way they're supposed to put statutes or codes or whatever it is for Michigan. And that's what we're talking about, is what's the proper citation for this alleged violation. Well, as it turns out, it's it's actually vehicle code, which is VEH, and then it should be 22350. Right? No person shall drive a vehicle upon a highway at a speed greater than is reasonable or prudent, having due regard for weather, visibility, and traffic on the surface with the highway, or no event, speed, which endangers safety of persons or property. Like, this is a really, really general this is a too fast for conditions statute. Has nothing to do with saying, hey, you're going 75 and a 40, right? It's just too fast for conditions. I don't even know what they said they should be doing. Speed 50. Was that 35? Was she doing 50 to 35? I don't know. Safe speed. radar. All I know is they're not doing anything with these numbers, right? The numbers didn't come into the definition. It's just too fast for frickin' conditions. So had they put VEH 22-350, they would have properly cited the statute, right? But they didn't do that. So this is in the California rules, right? It's format out citations. Rule 1.200, citations to cases and other authorities and all documents filed in the courts must be in a style established either by the California Style Manual or the Blue Book, a uniform style system of citations. At the option of the party filing the document, the same style must be used consistently throughout the document. So this is the case. They can use this one or this one, but I'm saying the one they used isn't correct, so I'm just going to say it is because I went and looked at the one that they offered, which was, I don't have it in here yet. No, we'll get back to that. Anyways, it isn't VEH. They used, even this guy, he did the number first, then the letters. And this has got the letters first, and then the numbers. There's something fishy going on. So anyways, I said, well, I'm going to write this. Right, so using the information that came off of the, notice to appear from the court, not the one from the sheriff, which I'm thinking about how we're going to do now, that we're going to go find the Superior Court of San Diego County. It's just the office of the sheriff, and somewhere in the courthouse is a building of the sheriff, and that's the frickin' court for the sheriff. And go tell them that these other people are simulating a legal process and want to have them arrested. Right? This is doing deceitful acts. It's an FTC violation. Well, this is what we wrote. Magistrate, there has been a mistake. The alleged notice to appear from the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, that would be the ticket, is a simulated legal process under color of law and a violation of laws in their states. Now, why did I say that? Well, because they didn't use the proper legal citation. That's all it would take, right? They didn't properly cite the court, the law that you violated, and so it just became color of law and a simulated legal process, even if everything else was right. Right? Now, there's other things wrong. It didn't have an age on it. In Michigan, they're supposed to put the last four of your Social Security number. Well, they don't do that. So they're really not identifying you because it doesn't have your Social Security number on there. This is just, business as usual in the United States, and why a lot of people are so upset. I'm as upset as Black Lives Matter with a lot of this shit, but I'm not going to go with what they're doing because I'm not blaming the government. I'm saying the government has been overtaken, infiltrated by persons who are pretending to be public officials or officers, and that somebody who had the proper oaths of office could just go arrest them all and all this shit could go away from the Congress on down. So we're going to start with, in this case, we'll start with traffic tickets and go up. Right? We'll start at the bottom. So your County of San Diego Court, so that's the other piece of paper, is in a foreign jurisdiction having no authority in San Diego County, California, United States, which is where the sheriff was. Right? These are two different jurisdictions. The violation, VCE 22350, charged by your court is not a proper legal citation of California law. Unless you filed for record the oath of office mandated by federal law for USC 101, I am not in your jurisdiction. I am not subject to answer to any charge in your private tribunal. I include a copy of this law for your review. If you have complied with federal law for USC 101, please provide me a certified copy of the filed oath of office for my review. If you have not complied with 4 USC 101, then I demand the County of San Diego stop harassing me and violating my civil liberties with false allegations that you immediately discharge case, please provide me documentary evidence of said discharge. Respectfully submitted, enclosed, put a copy for USC 101, a copy of the ticket, whatever paperwork they gave had the ticket, had from the court and from the from the judge. And then, in this case, I didn't put it on there. We put it in anyways. It was, Christina put it in. Was the format of citation. This right here. Right. This comes right out of the California statutes. Rule 1.200, format of citations. If they didn't put it in the way these books say, then you can just say, well, it's not been put in right. So that's what we did. And this was all last week. And just on Friday, was it Friday? I think it was Friday. Maybe she got it Saturday. Maybe she got it. Yeah, maybe it got to her on Saturday, just yesterday, and she sent it to me. We'll look at it right now, what their reply was, and see where it's going. Okay, so the first thing that happened is she was able to check by going to the Superior Court public portal and put it in her citation or case number that now it's Francis, comma, Christina, and anytime they put a comma between your names, this is your legal person, not your natural person, your business. Christina doesn't have a middle name or second first name like, my first name's Robert Allen. That's my given name, and I don't have a middle name. She don't have a second one. So, but if you go to contract with the federal government as a business, so I went to IRS, got an EIN in my name, Robert Allen Rutluski, a business, sole proprietor. I showed a video from December 2017, I think it was, EIN and SSN in your name. And if you go watch that and decide to do it, just don't file the form. Just go to the site and the IRS and do it there, which was the intention in the first place. But once you do one, you can't go back and do it again, so I couldn't show it in the video. I ended up using a pay sites thing, and somebody went and paid for it. It's like, well, you're not supposed to pay for it. Just go there and get it. All that being said, after I did that, I wanted to file with Dun & Bradstreet, and they said, well, to get your Dun & Bradstreet number quicker, you need to tell them you're going to be contracted with the federal government. So, well, yeah, I'm going to do that. Check the box. Give me the EIN number, and then you had to go and register, or the DUNS number, and then you had to go register with the federal government. Well, when you do that, they put your name backwards. Mine's Rutluski, comma, Robert Allen with them, but other places it's Robert Allen Rutluski, as a business. So because your name doesn't have a comma in it. If they wanted to put your last name first, that's fine, but they didn't have to put a comma there, right? They decided to do that. But now this has a different signification completely. It's nothing to do with what we're talking about now, but it's just one of those things you learn that, want to share the information. So it says a payment cannot be made to this case because it currently has an active case flag of commissioner correspondence. The case is ineligible for online transactions. Contact the court for further information. And it showed that she owed $238 and it had a subtotal of 0. Well, before it had $238, and then it had 0. So before it had the statement in there when she had looked. And she sent me a copy of it. I just forgot to upload it. So yeah, take my word for it. But and now it doesn't. So it's like, okay, something was going on. And then she got in the mail this ex parte minutes, which, Superior Court of San Diego County is on the ticket. So this is not coming from the ticket. This is coming from the invitation after the ticket court with their name backwards with a comma. So they're going after her business, where they check the correspondence received from, but it doesn't identify what her status is, right? So they didn't call her a defendant, defense counsel. She hasn't been given a status yet. And you never want to become the defendant, because once you become the defendant in their system, you're guilty. Right? This isn't the constitutional system here. This is some kind of ecclesiastic system. Because San Diego County, the one where the sheriff is, that's the proper jurisdiction. This is not the right fucking jurisdiction. This might be United States of America, King George's jurisdiction, the thing that he claims in the Treaty of Peace from 1783, where it says, of his dominions, United States of America. Right? It's King's jurisdiction, but it's not necessarily the Republic's jurisdiction, which would be the United States. But they didn't check anything, so she's not any of these, and then check, please advise. So, right now we're just putting down things that are wrong. No status assigned. Where was that at? Okay. Case referred to judge commissioner. They didn't check a box. Right? There is no status assigned who it is. Is it the judge or a commissioner? I mean, who is it? What is this chicken scratch here? Judicial orders. Well, there was no order given. Right? There's a cover story that's been added. So when you look at this box, right, they copied and pasted this on top of whatever is supposed to be there. So now they've altered a fucking legal document. Right, this got a form number on it, I'm sure. Well, there you are. Look at this, got a form number. Right, so I'm saying this is a simulated legal process because they altered a legal document. And we got a different scratching here than the one up here, so these aren't the same person. Right, now we got two different conspiracy. But this says the defendant must enter a plea before the court can consider the request of relief. So we're trying to have it discharged, right? So is that asking relief or not? I don't know. Defendant should make an appointment to appear for an arraignment, right? Defendant, but they didn't. She's not a defendant yet. They didn't check defendant box, right? But they're trying to convince her to be the defendant and do these things, right? To prove she's the defendant, she should do these things. So obviously we're not going to do it, but let's see what they want her to do. Defendant should make an appointment to appear for the arraignment or resolve the case as otherwise explained in court's website. So that's the way they'd like you to do it. It doesn't mean it's the only ways it could be done, right? If outside of San Diego County, and then it stops. Defendant can either enter a plea by mail or using court form MO-041. So if she wants to be the defendant, she could fill this form out and send it in. Right now, when you look at this form, it has her name, frontwards, there's no comma. Doesn't have a due date. It doesn't have that she was charged anything. Right? There's no violations listed. And they want her to say she's guilty or no contest, put a date, send it back to her. Right? To the not the court of the ticket, but the court of the later invitation. Which just does say Superior Court of California, County of San Diego, but that isn't who wrote the ticket. And that wasn't the court she was told to go to. That's the biggest thing. It would be different if she was told to go to that court, but she wasn't. All right, the ticket clearly says to go to Superior Court of San Diego County. So you have to find that court. And I'm just saying, I believe if someplace in the court building, based on my research again here recently, it's the office of the sheriff. We need to go there. The sheriff has his own court. Bail court, whatever you want to call it. Right? And just don't take no for an answer. Show them the ticket, say, this is what it says, Sheriff. So that was the original thought to do that. But instead, now after some recent research, we're going to try going to this thing called the Michigan Sheriff Association or California Sheriff Association, which is the association that all the sheriffs are members of. Right? So they have some jurisdiction over the sheriffs in the office of sheriff, apparently, because of what it says on these websites when you read them. It's pretty interesting. Okay, so that's what's going on here, right? This is what she got yesterday, and it's got all sorts of errors in it. So, well, who are we going to tell? And I'm saying, well, we're going to go tell this court that we were supposed to go to. That we didn't get anything from them, but we got all this other shit from somebody else. Right? And that this is all a simulated legal process. This is, it's bad faith. Because none of these people have taken the oath in 4 U.S.C. 101. They don't have the authority to charge you for anything. They're trying to get you to agree to go to their fucking court, but they don't have any authority. That's just the way it is, right? And then if you're not going to argue about it, well, then they're going to continue with what's worked ever since because they have an established relationship that if it's not rebutted, they can do it. Right? So, yeah, actually, okay. There was two different ways to look at your stuff in the court's website. One was by the ticket number, and the other one was by your case number. Well, when she did by the ticket number, it came up with her name, and then this other case from 2010 where This thing had, hadn't been paid since 2010, and it's still sitting there. And, it had 580, 238. And I think on that one, it showed 238 when she looked at it the first time. So it was showing that she had something then, but the 580 wasn't showing for this guy. And basically, it was the same thing. This had never been paid, and they never closed it. The case is 10 years old. It's still open. Right? This is the problem. See how they did him? Seth Dragon. That's his first name. Right? They may want you to believe Dragon's your middle name, but I don't believe so, Seth. Okay. That's what we're going to try next. We're going to write back to the court. And so let me go back to the letter. Let me look at that again. Hang on a second here. So the idea with this is, right, you go to your county. Every county, there's some court that's in charge of criminal matters, felonies, right? The Court of General Jurisdiction, the big court. Here it's called a circuit court, right? Kent County is a 17th Circuit Court. Then they have a Court of Appeals above that, and we have a Supreme Court, right? So, but whatever court does felonies, whoever the chief judge is or presiding judge, they have additional duties where they're in charge of the administration of justice within the circuit, right? So you're going to them in their administrative hat to say, look, this is wrong. There's been a mistake. Unless these people have this oath of office, they don't have any authority, right? And so I'm sure that what they want to do is make this a not guilty, right? They're never going to charge her now that she's exposed this. They're just trying to make it go away. And if she doesn't answer this by a certain date, by 8/5, right? Then they're going to go ahead and enter a something for her, either guilty or no contest. Right? So, we have until then to give them an answer. We don't have to agree with what this says. We're going to write back and say, look, we weren't charged for anything. This is some legal process. And go back again, bang on some doors. But now, seeing what they're doing and just saying, well, there has to be this court because it's on the damn ticket. Go find it. Right? Go ask the sheriff, where's this court? It's on your tickets. You're the one giving it to us. Where's the court? Right? And say, you're supposed to protect me from shit like this, Sheriff. That your court didn't contact me, this other court did. So your court's going to find me to be in violation, but I never got, I was never summoned by your court. The other thing on this is, this guy never used his name. This isn't anybody's name, right? So it's got all sorts of errors. Just wrong. And we should be able to do something about it. So that's where that sits today. Okay, hang on a minute. Okay, so every state's going to have some kind of sheriff's association. And this is the About page for Michigan's. And if you went down here far enough, it would talk about the Michigan Sheriff's Association. Because that's a little hard for me to read. I copied it. And it had some pretty interesting things, right? For over 140 years, the Michigan Sheriff's Association has been the leader in providing education training programs in your community and to your sheriff and their staff. Right? So he's talking to us and the sheriff and their staff, right? We're the your in that, your community. Current issues include safe schools, teenage, goals. Collectively, through the Michigan Sheriff's Association, the 83 Sheriff's Office enjoy a single voice in meeting the needs of policing at the county level, working towards improved professional standards to better serve and protect the citizenry. The Michigan Sheriff's Association is constantly striving to meet the following goals. Now, before we go any further, every state has some entity that provides a certificate to law enforcement to say that they're law enforcement. In Michigan, it's the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards, MCOLS. And so any body who's handing out you a ticket is supposed to have this certificate to prove that he's, qualified to hand out a fucking ticket. It's the minimum standard, and people have to have it to go to the sheriff's department or to the police department, whoever it is, and get a fucking job. So they can't say they don't have it, and it has to be on their human resources file, but try to get it, right? They don't want to show it to you. So I don't know if they have it or not, but they don't want to show it. But if they did, it would show in their full legal name that that was the person who was authorized in law enforcement. So, if they don't have these things, then they can't hand you out a ticket. But let's say that they do. Okay, so this is what they're going to do. I mean, I would hope that we could get the sheriff to do it, get all their people right, and them to recognize me that I'm the dude that you owe allegiance to, sheriff. Right? I'm your sovereign. And that's who they're supposed to take their orders from. Right? We're the sovereigns. He's the king's man in the shire. But we're the king. We have a king of kings, Christ, but we're kings. He's our sheriff. Preserve and enhance the role of sheriff as a chief elected law enforcement officer in the county. Institute training, education, support effective law enforcement coverage. Deter crime through prevention programs, both at state and local level. Assist mutual administrative concerns regarding correction facilities. Maintain a leadership role in support of enactment of appropriate law enforcement legislation to best serve the needs of the sheriff and the citizens of Michigan. Okay, so you need to recognize me as a citizen of Michigan, and then the sheriff will have to recognize that I'm here. Because we all have a fucked up status, right? That we're not in the United States. Your father's residence isn't on your certificate of live birth. You're not in the United States. And if you are naturalized, if you look at your naturalization certificate, you'll say that you're a citizen. It says on there, you're a citizen of the United States of America. It doesn't say citizen of the United States. Not 14th Amendment, citizen of the United States. Now, you're a citizen of King George's jurisdiction. We'll look at it in just a second. So anyways, formed in 1877, the Michigan Sheriff's Association is the oldest law enforcement organization in Michigan. The Michigan Sheriff's Association, at a glance, is the only organization that officially, what did they say? Yes, they said officially represents the office of sheriff in Michigan. You can't go to your sheriff in the office of sheriff. He doesn't officially represent it. The only organization that does is the Michigan Sheriff's Association. Represent the concerns of sheriffs, their offices, and other criminal justice members. Well, that would be us. Maintains and enhances the constitutional office of sheriff, right? The office of sheriff is constitutional. The dude that holds the office is just the person elected in by the local, constituenary. Is that the right word? Probably not. Anyways, office of sheriff, by representing it to the general public. So this is, again, we'll take it to them. For all the reasons they're saying in their own info, I'm going to take it to them. Members and agencies of state and county government and other aspects of the criminal justice system. It goes on and on and on about them. First two characteristics of the office of sheriff. In England, the sheriff came into existence around the 9th century. It makes the sheriff the oldest continuing non-military law enforcement entity in history. This individual was originally selected by the serfs to be their informal social and government leader. That's why we elect them. And the kings observed how influential these persons were within the serf community and soon incorporated that position into governmental structure. Right? So we vote the person into the office of sheriff, but it's the office of sheriff that has the authority. I'm saying that's what you're going to find in the courthouse. That's where the office of sheriff is. He never left the courthouse. His department isn't the same as, saying, the office of. The reeve soon became the king's appointed representative to protect the king's interests and act as mediator with people of his particular shire. The office of sheriff grew in importance with increasing responsibilities up to and through the Norman invasion of England in 1066. The duties of the sheriff included keeping the peace, collecting taxes, maintaining jails, arresting fugitives, maintaining a list of wanted criminals, and serving orders and writs for the king's court. But this is the office of sheriff, not the sheriff. And the office of sheriff, according to what the Michigan Sheriff Association said, well, that's them. They represent the office of sheriff in Michigan. The responsibilities of the office of sheriff in England ebbed and flowed depending on the mood and the needs of the king and government. 1215, Great Document of Freedom, the Magna Carta, was reluctantly signed by King John. This document had 63 clauses 27 of which related to restrictions upon as well as the responsibilities of the sheriff. The nation expanded westward. The office of sheriff continued to be a significant part of law enforcement. Early American sheriff was important to security of the people. Was granted much power. Augustine Washington, George Washington's father, was sheriff of Westmoreland County, Virginia. The second characteristic that sets the sheriff's office apart from other law enforcement agencies is a direct accountability to the citizens through election of the sheriff. So we need to make sure that the sheriff recognizes you as the citizen electing him. Right? How do we get in his role to say, I'm your elector, sheriff? Right? That's the guy we got to make sure that we're electing, and he recognizes us as his, as his boss. So it's a matter of a piece of paper and the proper register, right? Enroll the frickin' right book, and you're in. We need to enroll in the sheriff's book. The office of sheriff is not a department of county government. It is an independent office through which the sheriff exercises powers of public trust. Well, that'd be constitutional stuff. The preservation of the sheriff is vital in our republic. In 2010, the National Sheriff Association passed a resolution sufficiently presents the reasons the sheriff needs to be maintained as elective office as it has since the early history of our country. Since 1940, there's National Sheriff Association. I had it on here somewhere where it was like one of the presidents said it was the most important office in the republic. Hang on a second. Okay, so Michigan Sheriff Association, California's going to have one, Illinois, Texas, they're all going to have one. Right? Everybody's going to have one. And just go read about it a little bit. And I'm just saying, if they're the ones saying it, I'm not saying it. And they're about. All right, Michigan Sheriff's Association at a glance is the only organization that officially represents the office of sheriff in Michigan. Maintains and enhances the constitutional office of sheriff by representing it to the general public. Okay, they're the only official representative to the general public. I get it, so we got to go talk to you. Now, they have to do what they're supposed to, but I can say that's what it tells them to do. It's plainly written. And so I did send them something, and we'll get to that in just a second. But one of the things we're going to be telling these folks, if you have, if that ends up being the place, let's go on to naturalization just for a second. So, hang on a second. Okay, so first, let's start for those of us that were born here. Born in the USA. So they say. Well, in March 26, 1790, right, they had an act to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. And so it's called the Naturalization Act of 1790. It's not very long, and you can read as much of it as you want, but the part that matters is this, that, the right of citizenship. This is where she all comes together. Shall not descend to persons whose fathers have never been resident in the United States. Right? Whose fathers have never been resident. Now let's go look at a standard U.S. standard certificate of live birth. It could be a little bit different depending on how they did it, but they all have the same information. And one of them is residence of mother. All right, but they don't have any place on here for residence of father. So there's no proof that your father was from the United States, yet your mother was. Well, that makes her an enemy of the state because she was having relations with somebody who wasn't from the United States. Right? He could be a spy. We don't know. The United States is always at war. All I know is they ain't saying that daddy is from the United States. Mama's residence is on the record, not daddy's. And according to this first Naturalization Act, right? If you can't prove who your daddy is or your daddy lived, then you can't be a resident or a citizen of the United States. And it's only citizens of the United States that are protected by the Constitution. Right? It's, that's the way it works. If you're not a citizen of the United States, you are not protected by the Constitution. And right now, you can't prove you're a citizen of the United States because your frickin' birth certificate doesn't have where your daddy was from. So, what about people that were naturalized? Well, let's look at one of those situations. So first, notice that that is from the United States of America. Well, that's the same thing that's on money, right? But if you look at a passport, it says United States of America without the. So the United States of America is a different jurisdiction than United States of America. But the United States of America is the thing that was created under the Articles of Confederation, and so they're the witness to what's happening, right? It's on their document. It's on their letterhead, Certificate of Naturalization. And this is just talks about the people. You can go find these online, easy enough, find your own look at. But, I want to read the verbiage. So, be it known that pursuant to an application filed with the Secretary of Homeland Security at San Diego, California, the Secretary having found that Christina Francis, then residing in the United States, right? It doesn't say United States of America, in the United States, intends to reside in the United States when so required by the naturalization laws of the United States, and had in all other respects complied with the applicable provisions of such naturalization laws and was entitled to be admitted to citizenship, such person having taken the oath of allegiance in a ceremony conducted by the U.S. District Court for the U.S., which is not the proper name of any court. But that's what they put on there. So at this particular place in Judge Judy's court, that such person is admitted as a citizen of, lowercase the, right, United States of America, King George's jurisdiction. And so the Republic is saying, look, you were here, you did everything you needed to do to be in the United States, but you decided to become a citizen of the United States of America instead of a citizen of the United States. Right? You were residing in the United States. You intend to reside in the United States, which means you don't plan on leaving, so you can make it your domicile, required by naturalization laws of the United States, and had in all other respects complied with an applicable provisions of such naturalization laws and was entitled to be admitted to the citizenship, right, of the United States, but you didn't take it. Such person having taken the oath of allegiance in a ceremony conducted by the U.S. District Court for the U.S. at San Diego, California. Well, is that the name of that court? Why don't we just go look and see what the name of that court is? No, it's the United States District Court, Southern District of California. That's where they hold the little shindig at, but it's just a ceremony. In fact, somebody found out they just rent the room out to this other place that's pretending to give this... where the hell we go? Right, pretending to give you a naturalization. So, and it was done by the United States of America. Its Department of Homeland Security is the one responsible for this. Nowhere on there is this a judicial document. This is all administrative or executive branch. Right? Now, they're supposed to, if this had happened in the district court for California, right, then this clerk would have a record of this document. Where the hell are you? Jeepers. This document right here. But they don't have this document. Well, then it didn't happen in that court. Right? It happened in this court. Whatever the hell this is. U.S. District Court for the U.S. at San Diego County. Some fucking fictitious court. Having nothing at all to do with United States. And it was done as a scheme to get you to volunteer to say that you're a citizen of the United States of America. Or in my case, they just said, well, you can't prove your dad was here. And we wrote a law a long time ago that said, hey, if you can't tell me that your dad was a citizen or where his residence was, that the right of citizenship shall not descend to persons whose fathers have never been resident in the United States, and the document I'm supposed to use as my proof doesn't have it on there. Well, what am I supposed to do? Right? So, well, this is something I did find that I'm going to try to find out what I should do. That there's a document called the DOJ. I'll just start at the top, right? Certificate of Identity. Form approved by OMB, number expires 5/31/2020, which means it's out of date. So I don't know if technically you're not supposed to be a user if it's out of date, but what are you going to do? Where you put in your information, right? Robert Allen Ritluski, I say I'm a citizen of the United States. Social Security number, current address, date of birth, place of birth, and then they'll send me all the records that whatever this means, right? Just fill it out, send it in, and see what comes back. Or you can have it sent to somebody else, right? So this form is also to be completed as by a requester who is authorizing information relating to himself or herself to be released to another person. So are we supposed to have this information sent to like the county that we move into, to the sheriff's department, maybe to the Michigan Sheriff's Association? Who needs to have a copy of this that they would tell you that if you need one, this is where you put the name? Right? Well, somebody knows someplace, and so this is one of the things I plan on researching this week a little bit better. But it says here, providing your Social Security number is voluntary. You are asked to provide your Social Security number only to facilitate the identification of records relating to you. Without your Social Security number, the department may be unable to locate any and all records pertaining to you. Well, that makes sense. So, yeah, I want the records for Robert Allen Ritluski with this Social Security number. See, your Social Security number authenticates your identity. Because there could be more than one Robert Allen Ritluski, but there only be one of those with that Social Security number. And then it says up here, Privacy Act statement in accordance with 28 CFR 1641, personal data, da-da-da. Let's go look at that real quick. Hang on just a second. Okay, so that leads to Title 28, Code of Federal Regulations, CFR 16.41, request for access to records, how made and addressed. Right, so da-da-da-da-da-da, yeah. And then it says here that certain records are only held by certain places. For records held by the field office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation or Immigration and Naturalization Service, you must write directly to that FBI or INS field office address, which can be found in most telephone books or by calling the component Central Privacy Act office, right? So you want to find out about your certificate of naturalization, then you're going to contact the INS field office about your certificate and tell them to send you all the records they have that have to do with you by your Social Security number. Your name and your Social Security number. Right? That sounds simple enough. Let's want somebody to do it and tell me what you get back, because I don't have that. The function, right, and ask for the Central Privacy Act office. The functions of each component are summarized in Part 0 of this title and in the description of the department and its components in the United States Government Manual. Now, you could go look at the United States Government Manual for more hints, which is issued annually and is available in most libraries as well as sale at the government printing office. I bet you can even find it online. This manual can also be accessed electronically. Well, by gosh, look at that. Government printing office, right? So the GPO at access.gpo.gov, SU, lower, what's that thing called? And then docs, DOCS. If you cannot determine where within the department to send your request, you may send it to the FOIA PA Mail Referral Unit, Justice Management Division, U.S. Department of Justice, 950 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20530-0001. Send it to them. Ask for the records that have to do with that INS would have on you. Or FBI, or can you just put it on both? Can you say, give me the records for FBI, INS, and any other records as may be available for this name and this social security number? Right? And just tell them to send it out to all the different places and let them retrieve it. Right? You must describe the records you want in enough detail, enable the department personnel to locate the system of records containing them with a reasonable amount of effort. Right? The records that have to do with this name and this social security number. Those are the only records I want. I pretty well identified them. So there it is. I mean, it's, they tell you where to send it, give you some addresses to deal with. But for this particular form, which, where was that again now? Right here. This is certification of identity. So anything that they would have on you would be on this record, and this is where we'd say, well, let's find the defect and get it fixed. Let's identify the problem and fix the problem instead of bitching about all the stuff that's happening because of the problem. Let's go fix the damn problem. So, okay, that's the plan for that. So, well, there you go, right? It's the way the world works. That you think you went to this court here to be naturalization. Well, that isn't what happened. They just simulated it. Somebody rented a room and put on a show. And there's nothing you can do about it, right? But the U.S. District Court for the U.S., San Diego, California, is not the proper court. So my point is, okay, can we go complain to this to the office of the sheriff once we identify where it is and say, Sheriff, I wanted to be in the United States, and they put me in the United States of America. I would like your help correcting the record. And coming from, his, from the proper office to, give him a directive is all we're looking to do. So, very good. I'm going to leave it there. And if you can, I'll ask one more time if you're still here. Hey, please donate. Right? Send it to PayPal or send it to my address, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. Or send me an email and say you would like to donate X amount, and I can send you a invoice by PayPal. Okay, that's where we're leaving it today. Have a great day.